How's it going, guys? So today we're going to talk about a few reptile enclosure hacks that I've recently been implementing. Now, as I've been working a lot more these days, I'm spending a bit less time at home. I can't keep as close of an eye on the animals, so I'm trying to find ways that I can really automate things and make things a bit easier on myself. Now, one thing I used to do was have everything on these analog timers. You know, you twist them, you set them to the right thing, let them go, and then you know, you get a power outage or something like that and it all whacks out your timing for everything. So for the last few months, I've actually switched over to a digital timer that's actually Wi-Fi connectable. Now, I was put onto this by Scott Iper from an episode he did on a couple of podcasts, and these are the Arlec Grid Connect systems. So they're really good. They connect to your Wi-Fi and you can set on your phone and everything through the app exact times you want things to go on. They can go on and off as many times as you want. And they're just a really handy little system that lets you adjust things in your reptile room from basically anywhere. Now, you can buy these just from Bunnings as a simple individual unit like this, or you can actually get an entire power board where every single plug is adjustable and connectable to the Wi-Fi. So I'm not affiliated with these products by any way. I just think it's a good thing for reptile keepers to have if they want a bit more automation in their setups. And now with using this Grid Connect system, I can actually control my daylight hours with a lot of my different lamps on my enclosure. So everything here behind me is running on the Grid Connect. You can see it on the app here. I've got a lot of different individual things there. And from here I can set things to come on at different times, or I can turn it off personally if I want to at any single time of the day, as long as I have access to some sort of Wi-Fi or anything like that. And I'll give you an example behind me here. I've got all the lights are on at the moment, because it's the middle of the day, but I can turn off the UV lights if I want to, just like that, just with a push of a button. Same with these ones over here. Their UV's off now. I can turn it back on, and then even the heat as well. So heating off. There you go. It's really simple as that. And so maybe I'm out somewhere, I'm out at work all day. It's going to be a really blistering hot day. I know I won't need the heat lights on, or I want to turn the UVs off because they're not on a thermostat. I can simply do that, press it while I'm at work, and I know my animals are going to be nice and cool. And so at the moment, instead of having all my lights come on in the morning and all of them go off at night, I have them staggered. So my heat lights will come on first in the morning for, you know, an hour or two. Then after that, the UV lights will come on, and then in the afternoon it's the reverse. The UV lights will go off first, and then maybe an hour or two later, my heat lights will go off. Now eventually I'm going to upgrade and have LED lights in here as well for an extra bright middle of the day daytime light. Now, what's held me back from putting in some bright daylight LEDs in these wooden enclosures for so long is the fact that these enclosures heat up a lot. Just from the UV light and the heat light alone, they can easily get over temperature, especially on a hot summer day here. They just really hold in heat crazily well. So it hasn't really been much of a possibility until recently, because I've employed the use of some fans. It's no secret that a common problem here in herpetoculture is ventilation and the lack of airflow in most enclosures. So even though we've got vents on the sides of our enclosures and things like that, it's not always enough to push all that hot air out and keep it nice and fresh in there. So I went online and bought a whole stack of these PC fans. Now these ones are really good. It's really important because I got the ones with a USB connection, so they can plug right into a USB port and work off that. There's other ones that have different wiring. They'll be a lot more of a hassle to try and set up. If you're a bit of an electrical whiz, then it might be pretty easy, but I found these are pretty good. They weren't very expensive. They're about 12 by 12 centimeters, and they pump out a fair whack of wind for their size. So how I've actually set up these fans for the enclosures is I've actually employed the use of the thermostats I'm using, which are these Inkbird thermostats. And the great thing about these is they actually have a heating and a cooling function, so that made life a lot easier for me. And to connect the fans up to it, I simply bought one of these double adapter things for phone charging. Now first I had to actually mount the fans to the enclosure. This was really easy to do because the fans actually have little screw hole areas where you can screw the fans right on. And I put it onto the bottom vents on the cool side of my enclosures. Now you could do them here, or you could do them on the outlet vent where the heat would come out from, and it would just depend on your fan's orientation whether you want the breeze blowing it in for the cool side or the breeze blowing outward to suck out the hot air on the hot vent. Okay, so here's how I've set all this up. So of course we have the fans right here. They're going to blow air into the enclosure, but now I've got the fans actually connected all the way back here right into the thermostat. So the Inkbird thermostats work great because they have the heating and cooling function. So I've got both of them here connected into this double USB port thing, and then my heat lights are connected on the other side here. So right now the enclosure is heating up, as you can see the heating lights on. But what I'm going to do is go over and show you what happens when the enclosure overheats. So we'll come around here, and all the temperatures are picked up by this probe just here. And so what happens if we heat this up? Imagine it's a hot day in summer. My room sort of goes up in temperature. The heat light's also contributing to that. It heats and heats and heats and heats and heats to the point where the light shuts off, and then we hear a sound and the fans turn on because the enclosure has gotten too hot. That's blowing in some nice cool air in both, and that's going to cool the enclosure right down as it is coming from a lower level, bringing in that fresh air from outside. And you can feel it all the way out here, even to about here, even probably a bit further. It's going to help circulate air through, up and out these top vents, and keep it nice and cool on those hot summer days. Now these fans aren't going to solve all my thermal issues here in summer. It just gets too hot here in Australia, especially in this room. But it is going to help, and it's going to bring in fresh air as well for the animals, a bit of a breeze. Even though they are reptiles, they don't sweat or anything like that, so the breeze won't help them too much. It's still better than nothing. And honestly, just fresh air for the animals is more than enough reason for me to have these fans going. Now I have noticed so far that the hot side does stay quite warm still, but the cool side does drop, at least 3 to 5 degrees from what it normally would without the fans. So it's working well so far, and we'll see how it goes throughout summer. But either way, it's an all-round benefit for the animals and ventilation. So there's a couple of reptile enclosure hacks that I've been using recently. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any hacks that you'd like to share so we can all benefit from it. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.